when keeping it real goes wrong, wasn't that like a Chappelle
Yeah.
reference? I'm actually listening to the JRE episode with him, Dave
Oh,
Chappelle, and
nice. What do you think?
Darnell.
And Donnell Williams?
You know what? I'm only like 40 minutes in, but Darnell is like freaking hilarious.
He's so
I'm
funny, man.
guessing Chappelle gets on like at like the latter half of it,
Yeah.
or
It's like 2.5 or 2 hours and like 40 minutes in.
what was Chappelle doing? Just like chilling outside, just
I
waiting.
I have no idea. Probably he was doing like Chappelle stuff.
Like that's so weird. Like I'm like so I see the picture of all three of them and it's just them two and I'm like I didn't even fast forward. I'm like I'm assuming he just comes on later. Whatever.
I thought they were just like so I like I listened to it on like my morning walk to my afternoon walk. So I
Yeah.
got like a decent like way through it, and I probably got like an hour and a half in or something like that. And I'm like, oh, they're definitely trolling us. Like Dave Chappelle probably doesn't like come on at all, or he just like comes in, he's like, ah, I'm here, mother suckers, and then he just like leaves, that kind of thing. So that's like what I was expecting. And then at some point I was just like, all right, I want to see if like he actually like joins in. So I like fast forwarded probably between like an hour and a half to like the 2.5 hour mark, and then he like finally like makes his guest appearance, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's always fun and weird to see. Like you always wonder what happens in the background when that's like happening and all that because
Yeah,
they're clearly
right.
in his studio in
Yeah,
Austin.
yeah.
And then he's in there in person. But
He could have been
anyways,
like getting a haircut or getting his nails done or something like that.
or maybe he was having some elk for lunch and like he just wanted to
Maybe.
maybe he wanted some alone time and then like he's like, all right, now I'm ready. I should go in.
He's on the Traeger.
But dude, Roman, it's good to be back, man. We haven't we
It's
skipped
been a
last
while.
week.
Yeah.
Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I don't even think I asked you how your Thanksgiving was. Roman, how was your Thanksgiving, buddy?
It was good. It was good.
Got some gains in you?
Got a lot of gains in me. A lot of gains. I blew up from 151 to 162 pretty quick. So I'm hovering around 160. So I'll probably try to maintain because I
Wow.
think I think
Wow.
I owe I think I indulged a little bit too much throughout October and then November.
Yeah, I think so too. I bet also too in December it's going to be bad for us. Thankfully, today was a high of 70 degrees. Yes, and then this weekend is like 72 here. So um,
Nice. That's amazing.
Thanksgiving was good, guys. For me, we just we had it at the house. We didn't invite anyone over or anything. But yeah, Sunday to Monday, drove 25 hours to the new home. As you could tell,
Insane.
the cactus tree in the background. We're in AZ. We're now West Coast living, which puts me 2 hours behind Roman. So it's pretty weird to see. Like Roman like sleeps like on my time, but pretty much he's Eastern time. So it's pretty fun to see. Um, it's also weird. I woke up on Roman's time today. I've decided to not change my shift, so I wake up now at 5:30 a.m. So yeah, I
Dang.
feel like you, buddy. Like I'm turning
Yeah.
it, but you know what? It's nice. It's I get off at 2:30 p.m. and like the sun is just roaring and like
That's
strong
amazing.
still.
Yeah. I
So
think you'll like it, man. I think you'll
yeah,
like it a lot, actually.
I think I might leave it like this. I mean, the only thing is I just make sure I go to bed before like 9:30 now. It used to be like 10:30 back home in Chicago, but I just, you know what? I only went back an hour. I was like, I'll just try to go to bed by 9:30 or before.
Yeah. I bet
Which we
you.
we went to bed at 9:30 yesterday. It was
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Nice. Heck yeah. I bet you it'll be hard in the summer because it'll like just have gotten dark. So your like circadian rhythm will still be like, oh, I want to do stuff. I want to like watch something. I want to like go for a
Yeah.
drive, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the summertime here. But it's been really nice. I'm still look, people. I'm still wearing long sleeves. I got pants on, so it's on. It's the winter like they I guess I overestimated it. I thought it was gonna be still somewhat warm, but it's like nice in the sun. But
Yeah.
once you hit like shady spots, like it's like it like drops like 10 degrees. I'd say
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like ridiculous because
And
like
it's dry too, right?
yeah, so when we're
Yeah.
walking Pino, our dog, we were like, let's just try to walk in the sunny spots where there's like no shade whatsoever. But it's pretty interesting, and hope we love it, man. I can't wait. But episode 56, Roman, what the heck are we talking? We're back in
Dang.
business.
Yeah, we're actually kicking it old school too. I think one of our first episodes we covered this principle, but we wanted to dive a little deeper. And then this is actually something I think about quite a bit when it comes to like my own programming and my own like day-to-day workouts and my own like just like my own fitness, my own health. But it's the principle of individuality and how that principle plays into programming for the individual, and also how it plays into just like how you can take a more nuanced view of your own health and fitness.
And that's all, folks. We're done. We wrapped it up right there. Roman
Oh yeah,
wrapped.
you're
But
an
no,
individual. Act like an individual, and you're good, and you'll get mad gains if that's what you want.
yeah, and plus, to start things off, like you always want to, is I know Roman kind of said it generically, like kind of smart aleck way, but like as an individual, like we kind of talked in that previous episode, and correct me if I'm wrong, we actually went through like a step process as well. But like first off, we say this a lot, like what do you want to accomplish within your workout goals, your health goals, your fitness goals, or if you're a competitor, what's your competition goals? So
Yeah.
that could be like the biggest starting factor. Um, and I don't know if Roman, you're going to talk about this too, but like age, like health, like what your current status of health is. Obviously pandemic's going on right now. We can't really tell long term right now unless like, we have that information, but like depending on if there's heart conditions, diabetes, obesity, anything that can be a condition when it comes to, your workout program or your fitness individuality within like starting your own program, starting your own principles within working out. And those are a lot of variables that a lot of people don't really understand slash like, they think we could just get on track and just go when you should probably definitely intervene yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good point. So what Antoine was explaining is that like what the heck is individuality? So individuality, it's not just that like you're your own person. Like yeah, of course you're your own person. Like that's very like that's it's a tautological statement. So it's like A equals A. It's derived from philosophy. So it's like one is one, two is two type situation. Yeah, an individual is an individual, and they're different from another individual for a number of different reasons. But so it looks at things like biomechanics. Like your biomechanics might be different than like your buddy's biomechanics, and your buddy could be like the same exact height, same age. It could even be like your brother, but your brother could inherit like a type of like hip structure, which is more like more predominant on like the mom's side, and like the other brother could inherit a hip structure that's more like predominant on like the father's side,
Yeah,
meaning
that,
that you
that's
could.
that's funny you say that. Like my brother that's closest age to me, his hip structure is like my father's, and then
Yeah,
I'm like more of like my mother's,
that's so interesting.
which is like because we always give him crap like, hey, you look like dad, like you look just like dad. Those hips, are like everything, like when we first started getting into lifting and everything too. So, but I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. No, so that's a really good point. So like the positioning of your hip joints, for example, for some individuals, when you do lower body exercises, you're really going to want to experiment, especially when you're first getting into working out or running or cycling or anything along those lines, because how you position your feet is going to be extremely important. So I think one thing that we've talked about in on the podcast before is like the squat, and the squat is like the king of lower body movements. Any type of variation, front loaded squat, like back squats. It could be a goblet squat. It could be a you name it, any type of squat, like a jump squat, air squat. whatever like your capabilities are, you're going to want to mess around with like foot placement. And foot placement is really important because that is essentially looking at like how the femur is going to be socketed into the hip joint itself. And based off of how your like hip structure is designed, if you have hips that flare out a little bit more on the sides, then that might mean that you can allow for greater abduction of the feet, or pointing out of the feet, so pointing away from the midline of the body. Whereas if you have hips that point almost like straight forward with the hip socket, then you might feel very comfortable with just like a straight on foot approach. So when it comes to like the foot, like that's absolutely critical for like determining like, okay, what is a comfortable positioning when I like go into like a deep squat. Like your knees, how much your knees should track out versus over the midline of the foot, for example. That's going to be very individualistic. So that's just like a small example, but biomechanics plays a huge role in the principle of individuality.
Yeah, and also too, to go further on like the powerlifting movements, what I realized too with like this, just not just the squat, but just the deadlift too, when it comes to sumo or like conventional, or even where you place your hands or move your legs. So meaning like, close grip conventional, I mean, not a close grip / like close stance conventional, a little bit wider conventional with your arms wider out. Like, and to be example, like look at Brian Shaw when he deadlifts, or the other section of deadlifting is sumo deadlifting. So if you look at like Kaylor Wolin from Dr. Deadlift on Instagram, like his feet and legs are pretty much almost touching the the plates. And so I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Johnny Candido still does it, but like he's like pretty close to the edge. And you can kind of tell when it comes to those different types of people, like Johnny Candido compared to like Kaylor Wolin. I'm pretty sure it's Kaylor, right?
Yeah, Kaylor Wolin, yeah.
Yeah, Kaylor Wolin. I think he's like around like 6'1". I think he's like on the taller side, and Johnny Candido, isn't he like 5'5", 5'6"?
Yeah, something like that. I want to say he's 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", but yeah.
Okay, so not too much of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I mean, 4 or 5 inches is still like, that's considerable.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I could choose, like if I could choose to move like more weight for like more inches or less inches, I'd choose the less inches, because I'd be like, man, I load that puppy up.
Yeah. So to like Roman's point with like the hip structure and where your foot lies within the squat, like think of it like with deadlifting and like benching too. Like most of the time, like, that's why we always preach before videotape your lifts. Like if you don't have someone spotting you, even if you do, it's probably still good to like always keep your like lifts videotaped, because the fact that when you're looking at them in between, like everything might look smooth, feel smooth. But when you go back, for some reason, like on your squat, your lower back's rounding a little bit, even though it felt great, but maybe you just needed to, put the bar, a little bit down or a little bit up on your traps, or you needed to, widen your stance out, or your deadlift, same thing. Like say if your butt shooting up when you're about to, start the ascend with the deadlift, you want to maybe raise your butt next time, get a higher starting point where your back and your lower back won't get hurt or injured. Because you see it all the time. Like people will lift comfortably. Like, like I've told you guys before, I swear I'm not built to sumo deadlift. I've tried it millions of times. For some reason, can't pull myself into the position. So once I started videotaping myself and seeing it, like, I was doing like 450 pounds at one time, but still, like, it never really looked right. And I think Roman was always trying to get me to get it. He's like, just get it right. Like, hey, move your hips. Like, try to like, maybe work on your mobility, get your hips deeper into the sumo, but it just like never worked out. So like conventional, like when I videotape myself, I mean, as long as I keep my lower back tight and everything's in position and I'm not falling or flailing when it comes to the actual lift, like I know that's going to be good for my individual self and not like just because I follow Larry Wheels and he conventional deadlifts. And he
Yeah,
conventional
exactly.
deadlifts like 800
No,
pounds for reps.
no, that's a perfect point too. That's actually exactly like how I wanted to segue, because I was going to actually talk about like David Goggins, but like Larry Wheels is a great example.
Yeah.
So just because you see somebody like, it's totally perfectly fine to see somebody like Larry Wheels and be like, I want to do that. If that's like how you like feel and that's like what you want to like chase after, like I would say like set your goals like much lower. But if like that's your like your ultimate goal, like shoot for the stars, like that's fine. um but like also don't be disappointed if like you fall short, because there's some like genetic freaks out there. But like if you see somebody like a Larry Wheels deadlifting or doing a movement a certain way, it is okay to try that movement pattern, go light, like go slow into that movement and like really feel it out. And if you have a feeling like, whoa, that feels like totally wrong in my hips, that feels kind of like it kind of hurts my shoulder when I bench like that, just stop. Like find a different movement. Like move your hands in a little bit more. If your hands are really tight, like slide your hands out a little bit. Slide your hands out a little more. If it's bench, if it's deadlift, like if you still want to try and do like conventional, why don't you like look at like a puller like Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall has like actually like his feet are fairly wide for conventional, and it's so that he can get like super hyper tight on the deadlift. So I think it's totally fine to have like a single like individual that you like are trying to uh, model your form off of. But I'd say if it seems wrong, look for other individuals that have different forms and then try to emulate based off of that, especially when you're like first learning. I think seeing somebody do something and then you going out and doing it is the best way to learn how to do something, because that's going to get you closer to how doing a movement pattern works best for your body. And then also the point about David Goggins that I wanted to make is he's an absolute beast. That guy is like a mental maniac. He pushes himself to the absolute brink until he's like almost died on several occasions. I would not recommend that to anyone ever. If I was if I was your personal trainer, I'd be like, okay, you want to run a marathon? When was the last time you ran a mile? I haven't ran a mile since I was in high school. All right, well, we're gonna work on like building up to the mile first, and then once you do that, then we'll build up to like a mile and a half, yada yada yada. So it's important to start slow, because if you try to start like whole hog, let's say like, you know what, I really like these like bodybuilders, like I think I could be like one of the greats. I'm gonna start working out 6 days a week. The problem, you're not working out at all. So why don't you try and start working out 2 or 3 times a week and then see how it feels? Do that for a month or 2 months, and if that's sustainable, add another session, and do that for another couple months. If that is sustainable, add another session, because all the while you're doing that, you're starting to like deepen your love of whatever like fitness pursuit that you're pursuing. And that's like, man, that would make us so happy, because that's like the exact reason why we put on this podcast most weeks, to like give you some like tips and tricks and tools so that you can take your own like health and fitness like into your own hands, and then see what types of pursuits are most desirable and most like you're most like passionate about pursuing.
Yeah, and then also earlier you mentioned like like watch someone that has like the similar, like different forms, like watch all these different forms and try to pursue a couple of them and see how they do. Another thing is too, like, just always try to map out like the person that like kind of resembles like how you're built, and someone that's going to be like closest to you in your limb structure and your biomechanics, because most of the time, they go through the same pain, like, like me. Hey, I've got longer legs, I have a long back, I've got long arms, like I don't have a wide chest. It's like, I don't have too much of wide hips. So it's like, like who can I go after to check out like what biomechanics and what specifically I could do to increase my program, because like, hey, listen, this guy's definitely made it, or girl definitely has made it in the industry and is doing a damn good job about it. So let's see what they're doing, and then I will try to mock it. Obviously, not to full extent, like Roman was saying, like, hey, if you're gonna run a marathon, run a mile first. But like, you want to definitely get into like that mindset and that in those movement patterns, because you can definitely get it. I mean, the only thing that's going to be different is pretty much genetics. Like, hey, like I might be like 2 inches taller than Larry Wheels. Like, what if we have the same structure? I probably won't ever lift like the same amount of weight as him. Like yeah, that's kind of sad to hear and like say, but like who cares? Like I'm genetically me. I'm 100% Antoine. So it's like it doesn't bother me one bit on a day-to-day basis when it comes to like achieving being healthy and being as strong as possible for me.
Yeah, exactly. And then another point that I wanted to make that I think like a smooth like tangent off of that is that like if you're looking at like a program, like it might be a running program, swimming program, biking program, lifting program. Let's say it's like gym when there's like 5-3-1, and you find that you're like getting beat up, like you cannot recover. You're like, man, I'm having no energy. I love doing this, but like I'm always sore. I don't seem to be able to recover. Like it's hurting like my numbers. Like I'm not running as fast, biking as fast. I'm not lifting like the same numbers that I used to. It might be because like you might be overdoing it. That program that's like a cookie cutter program might not be designed for you. So if you like doing that, if you're like, man, I love running 5-3-1, maybe you need to like cut it in half. Maybe you need to cut it in like 3/4. Or it might be the opposite. You might be like, man, I can do so much more. I want to do more. I can do more. I'm always like, I always find that like after I finish this, like I've got so much energy, and like I run it like week after week after week after week. And like, I think I can eke out more gains. Like it would
Yeah.
be okay to add on top of that too. Like you also might have a threshold where you can accept more. But I would say that like I'd caveat that by saying like if you're the type of person that always wants to do like more, eventually you find that you've piled yourself up to like a mountain of like impossibility. So there's only so much that you can take on. No single person can take on the world. So yeah, with the
It's
yeah,
kind of like like what all the points you just said. It's kind of like those memes or those pictures that you see like today. It's like the forever small syndrome. It's
yeah,
like you want to keep taking on more and more and more. And a lot of people are like this. Like you just like look at yourself. You're like, damn, I'm small. Damn, I'm not strong. And then like from to someone else, like you might be like almost the strongest person they know. So it's like it's totally right when you were bringing that
yeah,
up, that kind of reminds me of like once you start, like of course you're never gonna ever be. I mean, maybe it's just a lot of like bad mental breaks in like our own heads, but like pretty much like you'll never be as fast, as strong as like as healthy as you always wanted to be, but you just strive to be the best of that.
yeah,
Which I think that's the brighter side of it, because I mean, hell, I've been lifting since well, unofficially like 14, 15 years old, but like ever since then, it's like there's never been a day where I'm just like, man, I want to stop. No, it's just like, what can I do differently? What can I do better for next time to make me a better person, as well as a better athlete, a better coach, a better whatever trainer, whatever it is for me, what's going on. So that's why I just wanted to bring up that point as you were kind of throwing that in there at the end right there. So
that's really good, buddy. That's really good. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of like good like aspects when it comes to individuality. There were a couple things like that I wanted to point out like specifically for certain populations because I think we still have a few minutes.
yeah,
Um,
we have like 5 minutes left. Yeah.
so there are certain pieces of equipment which will be very beneficial for certain populations. Certain populations will have like greater varus or like a pointing out of the arms, for example. So if you find that your arms tend to, when they're by their side, that they don't like sit by their side, but it tends to point out at a anywhere between like a 15 to 30 plus degree angle, then you may be like best suited to use an easy curl bar for any type of like curl variation. The reason being is when you use a straight barbell on like a barbell curl, for example, the amount of strain that it puts on the wrist is so it is circumducting at the elbow joint, and the circumduction can put strain on the elbow joint. In particular, people will complain that like the biceps tendon can feel like kind of like off if you do have like arms that kind of like shoot out more towards like the side, that varus, which is I believe the opposite of valgus. So easy curl bar would be like a really, really good substitution for individuals if that's the case. I think generally speaking, this is just a general statement. It does not apply to all people, but like generally speaking, that can be advice that you give to like your female lifting clients. It's not every female, but some females it does work for. For me, for example, I'm a male. I prefer to use the easy curl bar. I will throw in like barbell curls from time to time because I do like adding in that different challenge. But for me, it does give me some type of like wrist strain. So I would much rather a more neutral, which feels like a more natural feel of an easy curl bar, because it curves the angle of the bar so much so that it's just more comfortable for me. So I can rep out more reps. I can get closer to failure of the muscles I'm trying to work, the biceps brachii, for example. And it just helps with my gains.
Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. I love the easy curl. I've always did. The barbell curl always I would do it. It just would give me that tendonitis in the wrist, and I don't see that like that degrees of an angle when I like rest my arms down. So like I know I definitely don't have that, but like it's just something too with like preference and like body shape, where it's just sometimes the easy curl is like better for like a lot of people, I think. I mean, it's like you said, it's more neutral. It's like, well, yeah, it's gonna feel more comfortable and as well as better for you. So
yeah, exactly. It doesn't just have to be for female clients. That's just like a general recommendation that I've read before.
I like how you threw in. I like how you threw in there. I'm not a female.
Yeah. Well, because I'm trying to make the point like I identify as a male and this works for me. That's why I'm saying it's a general statement. I don't want people to be like, oh, these sexist like Gainz podcasters. Like, no, that's not what I'm that's not what I'm trying to say. Saying generally speaking, it's an okay statement, and it's like it's worthwhile to pursue as a hypothesis if you're a personal trainer and you have a female client. You could say like, hey, like, let's try the easy curl bar. Like, oh, you said you've always used like a straight curl. Like, let's try this. Another one that's like really important for like all populations to try at some point. If you have like constant back issues with like a straight barbell, you might benefit from something like a safety squat bar. A lot of people will claim that like the strain that it puts on their back is like significantly less, and like sometimes people will also cycle in like, so they'll do like the safety squat bar like on the back because it's intended, but then they'll also do it where it's like it's almost like serving as a front squat, and they'll say that also like helps with their lower back, some like pain that they might have in their lower back. So there's a lot of different tools out there. I would say like whenever you can, like it's okay to sprinkle in some like experimentation with your programming. We didn't really like talk about this, but like if it was a runner, we could talk about how like different shoes might be like effective for different runners. For example, some runners might want something like a zero drop shoe where there's no lift in the heel at all, and they might find that the spring that they get from their like their calves or their like feet in general, once they like acclimate to like a zero drop, is like extremely beneficial. So there's a lot to it. So there's like a lifetime's worth of learning for like your body, how you are as like an individual, and how using that principle, saying like, okay, like I might do something like a little different than somebody else, like that's totally fine. Using that principle to like craft a strategy for how you like want to complete your health and fitness goals.
Heck yeah, Roman. Love it, dude. Love it. Well, guys, that's it for episode 56. We love you. We're back. We're gonna be we're posting more on Instagram. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Follow our pages on YouTube. Check us out on all audio and video platforms. And then, keep the game strong, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.